Hi everyone, I am Ankita. Welcome back to my channel UPSC with Ankita. I am your trusted companion on this journey to become a civil servant. Hope everyone is doing well. Today, we are diving into one of the most important aspects of this exam. Yes, the UPSC Civil Service Examination syllabus. Whether you are just starting or revising your strategy, whatever be the stage, understanding the syllabus is your first and most crucial step. So, we will break it down stage by stage. The exam consists of three stages. The first is the prelims, then mains, and then comes the personality test. That is the interview part. It is often called as the personality test. And also, we will go through the subjects, topics, and how to align your preparation with what your busy truly expects. So I am sure by the end of this video, you will have a crystal clear understanding of what to study, what to skip, and how to plan smarter. So let's begin. The first stage, the preliminary stage. The first stage of the exam, though it's only qualifying in nature, it is the most competitive filter which eliminates over 95% of aspirants each year. It consists of two papers, the General Studies Paper 1 and the CSAT Paper 2, that is the Civil Services Aptitude Test. So, the first topic, that is General Studies Paper 1, it focuses on current affairs, history, polity, economy, environment, and geography. This paper determines whether you clear prelims or not, and it requires a wide coverage, regular revision, and mock test. So, as per the latest notification of UPSC, the syllabus for the paper 1 is that the current events of national and international importance, history of India and international movement, Indian and world geography, physical, social, economic geography of India and the world, Indian polity and governance, constitution, political system, Panchayati Raj, public policy, rights, issues, etc. And economic and social development, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics, social sector initiative, and so on. Then, general issues on environmental ecology, biodiversity, and climate change. And they have clearly mentioned that it does not require subject specialization. We only need to have a general understanding of on the topic. Then finally, general science. These are the syllabus for the GS paper 1. This paper 1 consists of 100 questions. The paper 1 has 100 questions, both 200 marks, which means 2 marks per question. For each wrong answer, one third of the marks assigned to that questions are deducted. Therefore, a wrong answer will result in a deduction of 0.666 marks. Okay. Then comes the paper 2, that is the Civil Services Aptitude Test. This paper is only qualifying in nature. The test, it will test the comprehension, logical reasoning, basic numeracy, and decision making capacity of the aspirants. It's a qualifying nature. The qualifying marks is fixed for 33% of the total marks, which is 66 marks only is needed to qualify this paper. Even though qualifying, many aspirants failed due to neglecting it. The syllabus of the paper 2 is the comprehension part, the interpersonal skills including communication skills, logical reasoning and analytical ability, decision making and problem solving, general mental ability, basic numeracy. This paper 2 consists of 80 questions. Each question in CSAT is worth 2.5 marks. For every incorrect answer, 1 by third of the marks assigned to that questions are deducted. Therefore, the penalty for a wrong answer is 0.83 marks because here for correct answer it is 2.5 marks. Okay. The prelims papers is very crucial because it's the gateway to mains. No matter how strong your preparation is, if you don't clear prelims, you are out. Then you have to start from the first stage. So it requires a smart strategy balancing factual knowledge, accuracy, and time management. And also, CSAT should not be taken lightly. You may feel that it's very easy, but actually it's not. The regular practice is very essential, especially for non math background students. Okay, and one more thing you have to remember, the paper 2 of the prelims examination will be a qualifying paper. I have already mentioned it's the qualifying marks is fixed at 33%. The questions will be both papers are of multiple choice objective type 1, and it is mandatory for the candidate to appear in both the purpose of civil services examination for the purpose of evaluation, which means that if a candidate will be disqualified in case he or she does not appear in both the papers of CSE prelims examination. Okay, now we are moving to the mains part. The first stage is over. The first stage is cleared, then we have to prepare for the mains exam. The mains examination consists of the compulsory paper, essay paper, general studies papers, and the optional subject. The compulsory paper, we will go through the detailed syllabus. Before that, I have to mention how much papers does all these subjects includes. The compulsory paper consists of two papers. One of the Indian languages chosen from the prescribed list of the scheduled language section of the Indian Constitution. So, and it carries 300 marks. And then comes the English paper. It also carries 300 marks. Each and every examination of the mains consists of 3 hours duration. Okay. And then comes the essay paper. We are supposed to write two essays which carries 125 marks each essays. Therefore, total is 250 marks. Then the general studies paper. We will explain the syllabus. Before that, we have four papers in the general studies paper, and each paper carries 250 marks, and in total the GS paper carries 1000 marks. And then the optional paper. The optional paper is only a single subject, but we have to write the examination for two papers. Okay, the same subject is asked in both these papers. That's the overview. So that's the overview of the UPSC syllabus mains papers. So we can have a detailed look on it. The first, as I mentioned earlier, it's the qualifying papers on Indian languages and English. It's qualifying in nature. The aim of this paper is to test the candidate's ability to read and understand serious discursive prose and to express ideas clearly and correctly in English and the Indian language concerned. The pattern of the questions will be of comprehension of given passages, precise writing, usage and vocabulary, short essays. And in English, we have the translation part. We have to translation from English to the Indian language and vice versa. Okay, both these papers carries 300 marks each. The compulsory paper, the language papers, paper A and paper B, they are just qualifying in nature but equally important. These papers will assess your basic comprehension skills, as I told, ability to read and write clearly, and importantly, your command over grammar, vocabulary, and structured writing. Okay, the UPSC does not want you have to carry like a bunch of knowledge on grammar and vocabulary. They only need a general understanding whether you are able to read, write, and understand what is given to you. Okay. Though the marks are not counted in the final merit, failure to qualify either of these paper means your answer sheet won't be evaluated, regardless of your performance in GS or optional. Like the CSAT paper, here in the main stage, similar to CSAT, we have the qualifying papers. Okay, so never ignore them. Practice is the key. Okay, and each of these paper, as I mentioned earlier, it carries 300 marks, and the qualifying mark criteria is that you need to score a minimum of 75 marks, which means 25% of the total marks to qualify this. Okay, then we have the essay paper. The essay paper, in this section, the candidates may be required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay to arrange their ideas in orderly fashion and write concisely. We are supposed to write two essays. Each of the essays carries a mark of 125 and in total 250. The duration is 3 hours. And this is not just about writing. It reflects your ability to think clearly, organize your thoughts, and present them in a coherent and impactful manner. So, as it holds the 250 marks in the examination, it can be a game changer of your final rank. Through the essay, what UPSC tests is the depth of understanding on diverse issues, then the clarity of expression and structure, your ability to think in a balanced manner, and originality of ideas, emotional intelligence, and sensitivity, which means a well written essay can compensate for low scores in other GS papers and showcase your personality even before the interview stage. Therefore, consistent essay practice is very essential. Okay, now we are going to the GS papers. We have four GS papers. The general studies paper, which is the core of the UPSC examination. Each paper carries 250 marks and in total 1000 marks. The papers test not only your knowledge but also your analytical ability, ethical judgment, and understanding of society, governance, and development. Now, in GS paper 1, we are going through the detailed syllabus of GS paper 1. In GS paper 1, we have the Indian heritage, history, geography, and society. So, through this paper, we have to build a foundational knowledge of India's past and present, and they will test our awareness of cultural roots, societal issues, and geographical patterns. So, and I have already mentioned about the importance of essay paper, and we are supposed to write essays on multiple topics as per UPSC's demand. So, studying GS papers will help in essay writing and interviews as well. Okay, so GS paper 1. In GS paper 1, as I mentioned, we have the Indian heritage and culture, history, geography of the world, and the society. So, the first topic is the art and culture topics. The syllabus is that we have to study about the salient aspects of art forms, literature, and architecture from ancient to modern times. Then, the second topic is the history. Under history, we have to study ancient history, medieval history, modern history. In modern history from about the middle of the 18th century until the present, significant events, personalities, and issues. The most important thing, the freedom struggle, its various stages, important contributors or the contributions from different parts of the country. And finally, post independence consolidation and reorganization within the country. That's all about the history part. And then comes the world history. Under world history, we have to study about the history of the world, which includes the events from 18th century, such as the Industrial Revolution, World Wars, withdrawal of national boundaries, colonialization, decolonization, political philosophies like communism, capitalism, socialism, and so on, their forms and effect on the society. That's about the world history part. Then comes the Indian society part. In Indian society, we have to look on the salient features of Indian society, diversity of India, role of women and women's organization, population and associated issues, poverty and developmental issues, urbanization, their problems and their remedies, effect of globalization on Indian society, social empowerment, communalism, regionalism, and secularism. Then coming to geography. In geography, the salient features of world's physical geography, distribution of key natural resources across the world, including South Asia and the Indian subcontinent, the factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary, and tertiary sector industries in various parts of the world, including India, important geophysical phenomena such as earthquake, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclone, and so on. Geographical features and their location changes in critical geographical features, like including the water bodies and ice cap, and in flora and fauna and the efforts of such changes. So that's all about the GS paper 1. And then we are moving to the GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, the subjects that we have to focus is the governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. This paper will assess the understanding of governance mechanism and democratic institutions. This paper is key to analyzing policies, welfare schemes, and international developments. This paper is very dynamic, which links directly to current affairs. Okay, now we can have a thorough look on each of these topics. The first is the Indian Constitution and Polity. Under this subject, we have to study about the historical underpinnings, evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions and basic structure, functions and responsibilities of the union and the state, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of powers and finances up to local levels and challenges therein. The separation of power between various organs, disputes redressal mechanisms and institutions. Comparison of Indian constitutional mechanism with that of the other countries. Then comes the polity and governance. Under polity and governance, we have to study about the parliament and state legislature, structure functioning of the parliament and state legislature, the conduct of business, powers and privileges, and issues arising out of this. The structure, organization, and functioning of the executive and the judiciary, ministries, and the departments of the government, pressure groups and formal or informal associations, and their role in the polity. Salient features of the Representation of Peoples Act. Then, appointment to various constitutional posts, powers, functions, and responsibilities of various constitutional bodies. Then finally, statutory, regulatory, and various quasi-judicial bodies. In social justice topic, we have to understand about government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation, development processes and the development industry, the role of non-governmental organization, self-help groups, various groups and associations, donors, charities, institutional and other stakeholders. Then, welfare schemes for vulnerable sections of the population by the center and states and the performance of these schemes, mechanisms, laws, institutions, and bodies constituted for the protection and betterment of these vulnerable sections. That's about the social justice topic. And also, we have to study about the issues relating to development and management of social sector or services relating to health, education, human resources, issues relating to poverty and hunger, important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability, e-governance, applications, model, successes, limitations and potential, citizen charters, transparency and accountability, and institutional and other measures, and the role of civil services in democracy. This is what we have to study under social justice. Then finally, international relations. Under international relations, we should have understanding about India and its neighborhood, their relations, bilateral, regional, and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. Effective policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest, Indian diaspora. Important international institutions, agencies, and for their structure and other things. Okay, so from the syllabus itself, you may understand that these topics are very dynamic, which very much links directly to the current affairs. So you should have an understanding about all these topics. So that's all about the GS2. Then we are moving to the GS3. In GS3 paper, similar to the previous GS1 and GS2, it consists of a variety of subjects. The subjects are technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security, and disaster management. These papers focuses on development issues, growth, technology, and security. It requires both the static knowledge and current affairs integration. Okay, and these GS paper is a scoring paper with proper structure and examples. So we can have a look on each of these subjects. The first is the Indian economy. Under Indian economy, we have to understand about the Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. The inclusive growth and the issues arising from it, and most importantly, government budgeting. Okay, then agriculture and food security. Under agriculture and food security, we should understand about the major crops, cropping patterns in various parts of the country, different types of irrigation and irrigation systems, storage, transport, and marketing of agricultural produce, and issues related constraints, e-technology in the aid of farmers. Then, issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support price, public distribution system, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping, issues of buffer stocks and food security, technology emissions, economics of animal rearing. Then finally, food processing and related industries in India, its scopes and significance, location, upstream and downstream requirement, supply chain management. Then the next subject under GS3 is the science and technology paper. In science and technology, we have to study about the science and technology developments and their applications and their effect in everyday life. How all these development is impacting our day-to-day life. Achievements of Indians in science and technology, indigenization of technology, and developing new technology. Awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnology, and issues relating to intellectual property rights. Then comes the development and infrastructure. Here we have to understand about the land reforms, effective liberalization on the economy, changes in industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth, infrastructure, which we have to look on the energy, ports, roads, airports, railways, and etc. Then, the most importantly, investment models. Okay, so that's all about the development and infrastructure. Then comes the ecology and environment. That is a GS paper 3. Under this paper, we have to study about the conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environmental impact assessment. So keep in mind, we doesn't want a subject specializations here on any of these topics. We don't need any subject specialization. What we need is a general understanding on each of these topics. We have to study and read in depth, but Make sure you are creating a general understanding and idea about every topic. Then the disaster and the disaster management. Then the internal security topic. Under internal security, we should have idea about linkages between development and spread of extremism, role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security, challenges to internal security through communication networks, role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges, basis of cybersecurity, money laundering and its prevention, security challenges and their management in border areas, linkages of organized crimes with terrorism, various security forces and agencies and their mandate. So, in the previous topic, that is a disaster and disaster management, we have to study about the landslide, flood, earthquakes, tsunamis, and how the our country is dealing with this. Whether we have a team to manage all these things, and all those things will be covered on the disaster management topic. So this is the internal security topic. So that's all about the GS3 papers, and then comes the GS paper 4, ethics, integrity, and aptitude. This paper will test your moral compass, values, and decision making in governance. It includes the case studies, evaluates your practical application of the ethical principles you follow. It's generally a high scoring paper if approached with sincerity and practice. Okay, so in this paper, it includes questions to test the candidate's attitude and approach to issues relating to integrity, probity in public life, and his problem solving approach to various issues and conflicts faced by him in dealing with society. So it's a paper which helps you to have a clear understanding on how you have to behave in the society. Questions may utilize the case study approach to determine these aspects. Here, we have to study about the ethics and human interface, essence, determinants, and consequences of ethics in human actions, dimensions of ethics, ethics in private and public relationships, human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers, and administrators, role of family, society, and educational institutions in inculcating values. Then attitude, content, structure, function. Its influence and relation with thought and behavior, moral and political attitudes, social influence and persuasion. Here we have the aptitude and foundational values for civil service. Integrity, impartiality and non-partisanship, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance and compassion towards the weaker section. Then emotional intelligence, concepts and their utilities and application in administration and governance. Contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. That's about the GS paper 4. Then we have the public or civil service values and ethics in public administration. It's the status and problems, ethical concerns and dilemmas in government and private institutions, laws, rules and regulations and conscience as source of ethical guidance, accountability and ethical governance, strengthening of ethical and moral values in governance, ethical issues in international relations and funding, corporate governance. All these topics comes under GS 4. Then the probity in governance, concepts of public service, philosophical basis of governance and property, information sharing and transparency in government, right to information, code of ethics, code of conduct, citizens' charters, work culture, quality of service delivery, utilization of public funds, challenges of corruption, and case studies on above issues. This is all about the GS papers, GS paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and paper 4. Then in the mains paper itself, we have another paper, that's the optional papers. The UPSC allows us to choose a subject. in a list of subjects they provide, we can choose whatever we like. The optional papers in UPSC main consist of two papers of the same subject itself. We have the paper 1 and paper 2, each carrying 250 marks, making a total of 500 marks, which is nearly 29% of the total marks in the written examination, which makes it a potential rank booster or a deal breaker. So, why the optional subject matters means, unlike GS, it allows in depth preparation in one subject. If chosen wisely, it can be high scoring and give you an edge. Many toppers have scored 300 plus marks in optional, making a huge difference in the final rankings. So, you can choose the optional papers from a list of subjects given by the UPSC. So, we can have a look on what all are the optional papers. So, UPSC is providing a number of subjects. We have agriculture paper, animal husbandry and veterinary science, anthropology, physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, history, geography, geology, mathematics, economics, commerce and accountancy, statistics, management, law, civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, medical science, psychology, philosophy, sociology, political science and international relations, public administration. Apart from all these subjects, there is papers related to the literature of any one of the following languages like Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Kongini, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Sandhali, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, and finally English. So, UPSC is giving a variety of subjects. You can choose it according to your willing and interest. So, but for choosing the technical subjects like the engineering subjects, we should have a degree on that. Okay, so it's very important to choose the right optional. We can choose the optional based on your interest and comfort level. And another important aspect is the availability of the resources and guidance. So, unlike the GS papers, we here it carries 500 marks. So, we should have an in depth knowledge. So, the availability of resources and the proper guidance play a crucial role. And you can choose an optional which overlap with the GS syllabus if it has something like the history topics, the sociology topics, which are something which overlaps with the GS syllabus. So, if you are willing, you can choose any one of them. And academic background. If some most of the students who are choosing the public international relations and the history, geography, etc. on your graduation level, most of them will choose it as the optional itself, but it's not mandatory. It's very much optional according to your will. You can choose it. Keep in mind, whatever be the optional, scoring well in that paper requires conceptual clarity, consistent revision, and strong answer writing practice. Then only you will be able to score a good mark. Now, the personality test. We never call it as an interview. We always mention that as the personality test. Because unlike the prelims or mains, it doesn't test your book knowledge. It evaluates a candidate's overall personality, presence of mind, clarity of thought, emotional intelligence, and suitability for public service. So, in short, this stage is not just a question answer session. Rather, it's a conversation that reveals the real you. It will showcases your ability to succeed as an administrator. Okay, so the personality test, which is the final stage of civil service examination, assess the candidate's suitability for public service by evaluating their personality traits, communication skills, and decision making abilities. This focuses on qualities like the mental alertness, logical reasoning, social awareness, and ethical integrity. It's not, as I mentioned, it's not just a test of knowledge. but a comprehensive evaluation of a candidate's overall personality and potential to become an effective civil servant. And finally, the most important thing is that you should keep this in mind. The interview, which is often called, I told, we talk about the personality test and not about the interview session. Okay, this personality test will carry 275 marks. There is no minimum qualifying marks. Okay, you should understand there is no minimum qualifying marks for in personality test. So before that, I would like to mention one more. I have to summarize something. The UPSC mains pattern consists of the 9 papers, including the compulsory Indian language, English, which is both of qualifying nature, carries 300 marks each. Then comes the then comes the essay paper. Essay paper From the essay paper, the marks attained will be counted. So the essay paper consisting of 250 marks and the 4 general studies paper consisting of 250 marks each. So in total, 1000 marks for the GS paper itself. And then the optional papers each carries 250. So one optional subject we have to write exams for the 2 papers, each carrying 250 marks. Therefore, in total, 500 marks. So that's the pattern. So we have the in total we have 1750 marks and plus the interview or the personality test mark, which is 275 marks. So in total, the exam pattern consists of 2025 marks. This is a complete breakdown of the UPSC Civil Service examination syllabus. So I hope you now have a clear idea of what to study, how to prioritize, and how to approach each stage smartly. As I told earlier while discussing the prelims syllabus, in the GS paper 1, it was only one slide subjects which is given in the UPSC notification. But where to start, where to limit, it's very important so that you will get an idea from the main syllabus. Okay, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share it with the fellow aspirants and subscribe to UPSC with Ankita for more useful content. And you can follow my Telegram channel UPSC with Ankita. In the upcoming videos, we will cover the preparation strategies, answer writing tips, and much more. So stay tuned. So if you're having any doubt, you can post in the comment box, or you can tell your opinion in the comment box also. So wishing you all the very best for your preparation. Follow mantra, work smart, and stay consistent. See you in the next video. Thank you.